All right, I think we're going now. Good evening, everyone. Let's get the kind of normal stuff we get out of the way while we're waiting for everybody to get in here. So, hey, if you guys are new to this channel, this is the weekly live broadcast. My name's Chris. I do this pretty much every Thursday evening, 7 o'clock Central Time, unless something gets in the way and I can't make it. Last week couldn't make it because it was Thanksgiving. I didn't even think about giving you guys a heads up ahead of that, but you guys get it, I think. And what else? What else? The only thing I ask here, I don't have a topic planned out. This is an Ask Me Anything session. We pretty much just do my best to respond to all the live chats that come in at the time. And then, the only thing I ask is be family friendly, be polite, don't be rude with anybody. We'll have to kick you out if you are. Just, keep it civil. That's what I'm asking here. So, all right. Hello to you, Holly. Good to see you. Mark, good to see you. Says just drop by to say hi and give a thumbs up. Well, thank you. Did you get a chance to go deer hunting, and are we allowed to hunt without you getting demonetized? Are you allowed to hunt? Well, okay, am I allowed? Yes, I did go do some deer hunting, quite a bit of it actually, but haven't got a deer yet. Had one pretty nice little 8-point buck come in and put my rifle on him, and the rifle went click, and I had a misfire, so didn't get to shoot him, but that's okay. I tried a little bit during bow season. I took a camera out with me and did some filming, but it's pretty boring, video because there's nothing really in it. I just had a couple of close encounters with some does that came in, little does, not very big, and milled around with me for a little while. I took the 360 camera out, so it's 360 video. So deer season's not completely over yet. I'm going to try to get out a couple more times and see if I can't get something. If it picks up a little bit, I'll be posting a hunting video. And no, I won't get demonetized for hunting, I don't believe. I may not be able to monetize that video, but that's okay. It's not a big deal. I tried to film it for you guys so I could post it, but like I said, most of it's incredibly boring video because I just didn't see much of anything. There wasn't really anything going on. There's me sitting in a tree stand for a little while, and then me coming back and saying, well, I didn't see anything, time to go home. That's about it. So it's nothing exciting so far, but we'll see. What else? Okay, good evening to you, Brittany and Val and Wyatt and Keisha from the Cayman Islands. Nice place. Gary, good evening to you. Wyatt says Wyatt says we got 3 does this season. Well, congratulations. 3 more than I got. Juan says, when do you start moving the heat lamp further away from the quail? Okay, good question. Generally what I do is wait till the birds fully feather out. And that's usually going to be around 2 weeks old. They're going to be feathered out at that point, get rid of their little fuzz and have full on feathers. And then you can start weaning them off the heat lamp. Depending on what your outside temperature is, kind of depends on how long the temperature in the room, I guess, depends on how long. I would reduce them by about 10 degrees, roughly 10 degrees. Starting at the time they're fully feathered out, about 2 weeks old probably. Reduce them by about 10 degrees. Watch the birds. Chances are what they'll do is they'll kind of huddle up under that heat lamp at first, and then they'll start spreading out as they get acclimated to that temperature. And it's going to take them a day or two to do that. And then you can move the heat lamp a little bit further away, 5 or 10 degrees more, and do that for however long it takes to get them down to room temperature. Usually by 3 to 4 weeks old, depending on your outside temperature, they're ready to go out and be off the heat lamp completely. If it's below freezing, I'd give them till at least 4 weeks, maybe even 5 weeks old before I moved them out, just to make sure that they're good and acclimated to that temperature and they don't have a big shock to their system. So hopefully that was a good answer for you. I didn't run through that too fast, but all right. J Farm World says, hey, my rabbits have 15 babies. Awesome. Congratulations to you. Good evening to you, Sasquatch. Good evening, Val. Oh, Val says, can't wait for the snow here in Washington. Yeah, we got our first snowfall yesterday, but it didn't accumulate at all. There was like 3 or 4 snowflakes on the high parts of the grass in at work and the yard out at the office. There wasn't anything here at my house. It's just across town. I think you had to be outside to actually see it snow and know it was snowing. You had to be outside when it happened. It happened overnight. So a little bit of a disappointment. I kind of like the snow, but that's okay. We'll get another chance. Gary says, my youngest grandson got a fat 7-point last week, and awesome. Congratulations to him. Lamongi says, hello from Brazil. I'd like to thank you for your info on rabbits. Love the videos. Well, you are absolutely welcome, and thank you very much for watching them. All right, Jay says, I just hatched out my second batch of Coturnics. 3 of the 10 have clubfoot. Will this correct itself? Sometimes it will. You may try to build a brace for them, like out of Band-Aids or something like that, that's going to hold their foot out flat. That might help with stretching those tendons out, and leave them in that for a couple of days, and that can help kind of cure that. Chances are that's probably related to something to do with your incubator temperature, especially if they hatched out a little bit on the late side. A lot of times what I find is that if my incubator is running just maybe a degree cooler than what it reads, then that'll cause the birds to hatch a little bit late, and then they'll have some leg problems with them when they're hatching late, or foot problems like what you're describing right there. So again, I'd build a little bit of a brace for them of some kind that makes their foot stand out flat, tape, medical tape or Band-Aids or something like that that just holds them out. Oh, there we go, holds them out flat, so that'll stretch that out and that'll help them recover from that. All right, hello to you, Kenneth. Vomika says, good evening from Alabama. We had the power go off for 2 hours when I was sleeping for work. Will they be okay? I was seeing it could reduce heating or hatching chances. Oh, okay. So you're talking about you had birds or eggs in the incubator and the power was off for 2 hours. Yeah, it's hard to say for sure. It depends on how cold it got and how much of a temperature swing there was, but chances are you're going to still get a decent hatch out of it. 2 hours probably isn't enough to really affect them too much. I think I would just go with it, and chances are you're going to be fine. All right, Wyatt says, my quail has a huge swollen eye. Should I put something on his eye or just let him recover? If it's not showing a real sign of serious infection, there's not like pus coming out of it, those kinds of things, chances are it's going to heal up just fine on its own. Probably got pecked in the eye by another bird. Sometimes they will lose vision in that eye, but they're usually okay even with only vision in one eye. And a lot of times they'll just recover on their own. So I very seldom have to treat any of my birds for any of the injuries. They usually just recover just fine. It's no big deal. So give them a little bit of time. Watch to make sure it doesn't get worse, because if you get a bird that's injured with an eye injury or something like that, a lot of the times the other birds can see that and they'll head to that bird and they'll start picking on that bird, and they can make it a lot worse. So that's something to kind of keep an eye on. All right, hello to you, John. Jay says, we got 5 does this season. Good grief, that's a lot of deer. Where I hunt is my uncle's property. Nobody lives on the property right now, but there's only about 40 acres there. It's not a huge property. There are deer there, but it's not a huge population of deer. We don't have food plots. We don't have any of that stuff. It's just natural chase, just, luck of the draw kind of. I wouldn't take 5 deer off that property because I'm afraid that would just deplete the population way too much. But my cousin and I both hunt, and we try to limit to 1 deer each. And we go primarily for bucks because, again, there's not a huge population of deer, so we want to give the does the ability to reproduce. Grab a drink here real quick. All right, Glow says, hey, good night, Chris. My doe had kindled a week back, but when she did, 3 was moving and 2 wasn't. What can be the cause? Boy, that could be any number of things. If you say not moving, if you mean they died, they didn't live, then there could be a number of reasons for that. She could have trampled them if she was a first-time mom. A lot of times they don't know exactly what to do, and they could accidentally trample the babies. I really don't know. I can answer that one for you. There's so many different variables that could go into that, and so many different things that could cause that issue. I'm sorry you had to deal with that, but again, if she's a first-time mom, give her another chance. Chances are she'll do a lot better with the second breeding and second kindling. All right. Joe says, aloha from Hawaii. Have you seen different amounts of hen aggression on different breeds? We have bully tuxedos and a German pastel. Wild type seems to be the less aggressive. Yeah, that's been my experience too. I haven't raised, there we go, haven't raised German pastels, but I have had tuxedos, I've had Italians, I've had Texas A&Ms, and all those seem to be a lot more aggressive than the wild brown type. And that's one of the reasons why I really like the jumbo wilds, wild colors, the jumbo meat makers, the jumbo pharaohs. They're just a much more docile bird in my opinion. And you can just look at them and tell which ones are hens and which ones are roosters, and that makes it the difference for me. So yeah, I agree with you. I've noticed more aggression in some of those other birds than I have in my wild color type, just the regular browns. All right, Julie says, I got a doe rabbit. She was bred November 20th when I went out yesterday, and there was hair pulled in her box. Is that unusual or normal first-time mother? She was bred November 20th. Well, that's pretty early because, we're only talking 11, 12 days, something like that. I wouldn't say it's incredibly normal, but it's not that unusual for a mother, first time mother, to get a little over anxious, not know exactly what's going on. What I would say is that you probably got the nest box in a little too early. There's a good chance if you put the nest box in too early, she's going to start using it as a litter box, basically, and you don't want that to happen. So what I would do is pull that nest box out. You save up that fur though, because you never know, she may not pull fur when she actually has the babies, and you can use that fur to cover them with. But the other thing I would say is, pull that nest box out, wait till 2 or 3 days before she's due, and then take a handful of straw and throw it in that cage and see if she runs around with it hanging out both sides of her mouth. If she does, then you can put the nest box back in. It'll be a pretty obvious behavior. You'll know what she's doing. They call that hay stashing. And put the nest box back in at that point, and then allow her to build her nest and see how she does with it. All right, Lindsay says, too, Wyatt, I had a quail with a bit of a wood chip in its eye and it got swollen. I was able to take the Q-tip with warm water and gently get it out when the swelling went down in a day or so. Well, that's good advice. Yeah, make sure something's not in it. That's a good thought. Didn't mention that, but I should have. Make sure there's not something in the eye. If there is, remove it so it can heal up. All right, Bob says, how many quail eggs are in your refrigerator at any given time? And how do you keep track of the oldest to newest when you have dozens and dozens? All right, so, well, I don't have a whole lot of quail eggs in the fridge right now because I had just a long story about that. But anyway, I've only got, on the average, sometimes in the summertime especially, when they're really laying strong and I've got a lot of birds, yeah, they collect up and we got a bunch of them. I don't really keep track of which ones are the oldest or newest. I just float test them whenever I go to use them. So I take eggs. I kind of rotate the containers. I've got these little Tupperware style containers that I store eggs in. So as one gets full, then I start filling the ones in the back. So the ones in the front are the oldest and they get used first. That's about it though. I don't really keep track of them that much. And then I just float test them. So I put them in a bowl of water, or actually I fill up the sink a little bit with water, and then put the eggs in there, and that gives me a chance to wash them. But also any of them that float, I just throw them out. The ones that don't float, that sink, those are the ones that I use, and they're fresh enough to use. So I don't know that that's really a great system, but it works for me. So anyway, all right. Val says we got around 1 to 3 feet of snow on a good. Oh, we get around 1 to 3 feet of snow on a good year here in Washington. Yeah, we don't get a lot of snow. We may get a couple of snowfalls. It's rare for it to be over a couple of inches. 4 inches at the most, I think. But occasionally we'll get a big snowfall and get a foot or something like that. When we do, it shuts the town down. Because we're equipped. We've got snow plows and all those kinds of things because we do get snow every year, most years anyway. But again, it's not usually more than just a couple of inches, 4 to 5 inches, something like that, which is a decent amount of snow. But yeah, it's not feet of snow, that's for sure. Brian says, what's a good incubator? I've been getting birds that break the egg and then die. Well, a couple things you can do about that, but let's talk about a good incubator first. I use a little giant incubator. I think if I was going to buy a brand new one, I'd go with a Hovabator. I always forget the model number. Somebody will throw it in here. It's like 1602, I think, with the forced air. But I use a little giant with a forced air, little giant forced air incubator. There we go. And, it works pretty well for me. And the good thing about that really is I did have the thermostat in it go out one time. Contacted the company. It's Miller Manufacturing that makes it. And they didn't ask me any questions like when did you buy it, any of that stuff to see if it was in warranty or anything. They just sent me a brand new thermostat for it. So that's really good customer service, and I'm pretty and it was like 2 or 3 days I got it in the mail. So it really good customer service there. So I do tote the little giant for that reason. But I think the Hovabator, I hear really, really good things about them. Don't have personal experience, but I know lots of people that use them and just swear by them. So either one of those is probably a good incubator. Before you get rid of yours, though, you might try to calibrate it and just get a couple of non-digital thermometers. Make sure they go down to 0, and because otherwise you won't be able to read right. You're only going to be reading at about 100 degrees. Make sure they're accurate. Calibrate them first. If you have to, look up a video on how to calibrate a thermometer, and then calibrate them. Make sure they're good. Like I said, get 2 of them and put those in your incubator and run it, and then different parts or whatever. And I always say get 2 because that way if you've got 2 thermometers in there and they both read the same temperature, but your incubator is telling you it's a different temperature, your incubator's off, and you may have to adjust it a couple of degrees one way or the other to get it to 100 degrees. So that'll let you kind of verify. If your incubator is just running a couple degrees too warm or a couple of degrees too cold, and you can adjust it and get it to set at 100 degrees, then that's all you need to do, and it's going to work just fine. So you might try that first. The other thing that can cause birds that break the egg and then die and not be able to get out of that would be if you've got too much calcium in your bird's diet. So if they only need about 1.5 to 2% calcium, something like that. So if you're adding extra calcium to their feed and it's getting it above that, then that can make for extra thick eggshells, which can cause exactly what you're saying, birds breaking the shell and then dying. So that would be a couple of things to look at. Hopefully that helps you out with that. All right. Let's see. Let me stop talking for a second to catch my breath. Okay, there we go. All right, Caesar says, thanks to you, I got started in quail, 12 eggs, 4 hatched. They are 2 weeks old. I have a good shelter pen outside with closed-in area. Can they survive the winter if I put them out in 2 weeks? They're 2 weeks old. Okay, when you get them out to 4 weeks old, they should. They should be okay at 4 weeks old. The key is going to be what the temperature they're in is in now versus what it is outside. So if you've got them at like 75, 80 degrees right now, and then you just take them and plunge them into 30-degree weather, that's going to be a little rough on them. But if it's, if it's in the 50s or 60s and you've got them in, like in the house and it's 70 degrees right now, and then they're probably going to be just fine. You shouldn't have to worry about that at all, and they'll acclimate as the weather changes. They should be fine. 4 weeks is a pretty good age, so I wouldn't worry about them too much. I think they'll be okay. All right. Marie says, hi from Northwest Indiana. Just wondering, since quail have flat feet, what flooring is best, wire bottom or solid? Pros and cons of both, please. And thank you. Okay. Here's a couple of things about that. Wire bottom is great for cleanliness. So now I don't have really any kind of foot problems with my birds. I keep them on wire. They do have a solid bottom section. It's actually sand in there. The thing you're going to have to worry about with a solid bottom section, or a solid bottom cage, I should say, is the incredible amount of waste that's going to build up in there, and it's going to collect on their feet, and that can cause problems in itself. So unless you want to clean the cage like every day or every other day and clean all that out, or do some kind of deep litter method that keeps it under control, then you're really better off with a wire cage. It's going to be a much, much cleaner, much more hygienic than a solid bottom cage where they're walking in their own waste and droppings every day. Hopefully that kind of makes sense. All right. Glow says, yes, she was a first-time mom. I think we were talking about, yep, 2 of them. Yeah, that may be the issue, Glow. Hopefully she has a better luck on her next litter, and she probably will, so I wouldn't worry. All right, Lindsay says, I just got started with quail in July, and now I have over 75. You've been a huge help and source of info. Thank you so much. Also, my kids like watching you with me, so bonus. Well, thank you so much, Lindsay. I appreciate that, and I'm glad you found the videos helpful. Congratulations on all your birds. All right, Ricky says, I have 2 Florida white doe and had 6 and other 6. Okay, let me start that over. I have 2 Florida white doe. One had 6, and the other one had 4. Their first baby. Well, congratulations on the new babies. 6 is a pretty decent litter. 4 is a little bit low, but again, if it's first-time moms, they'll probably do better on their next litter. All right, Sage and Stone says, my quail are 9 weeks old and up in a wire cage in my barn. No eggs yet, plenty of food and water. Am I too impatient? Well, it depends on how much light they have. Now, 9 weeks old, I mean, some birds, it takes them a little bit longer to mature than others. So usually you're getting, 8 weeks to 12 weeks. Somewhere right around in there is when they first start laying. But they've got to have 14 hours a day of light in order to lay on a consistent basis, and even in order to start laying, really. So unless you've got some kind of artificial light on them, chances are they're not getting 14 hours a day of light because it's wintertime here and the days are getting shorter. So, add a light, get them up to 14 hours a day of light, give them about 2 weeks, and you should start seeing eggs. Hopefully that answers that one for you. Hey, Jupiter, good to see you. Says, hey, Chris, hope you're doing well. I am, thank you. I was wondering what ever happened to your one-legged quail, and have you seen that pesky fox lately? No, I haven't seen the fox lately. I don't know if he's still around or not. He may be around. I don't have the game cam out there to capture pictures of him, but I haven't lost any more birds. The one-legged bird made it for quite a while, and then eventually did pass away, did die. But it was, I don't know if it was because of that or not. He got around just fine for quite a while, actually. But yeah, he's not in the hutch anymore. Hey, good evening, Boris. Good to see you. Hayden says, I want to start quail. Any advice? Well, that's a wide topic. That's a whole lot of things I could say there. You know, first thing I would say is get your cages set up first, get your hutch set up first, get a place for them to live, and then just look on Craigslist or whatever. Try to get some locally. That'll be a cheaper barrier of entry, and it'll give you a chance to get experience with them before you invest in like eggs or any of those kinds of things that can be a little bit more expensive. So that's what I would start with. That's the best advice I can give on that. I got a ton of videos on raising quail, so you can go back and watch them all, but I can't go through all of those right now. They're not really that difficult to raise, though, so you're going to do just fine. Make sure before you get quail, look for the feed. Make sure you can get feed in your area. You do want a good game bird starter or a turkey starter. High protein, 25% to 30% if you can find it. And make sure you can get that before you go buy any birds and get home with them. Get their feed, get their water, get their hutch all set up before you go and get birds. That's my suggestion. All right, Susan, how are we doing on time here? Yep, 20 minutes in. Susan, hello to you from Bermuda. Good to see you. Armed Whale, there we go, says, do you have a Pepsi near you? Oh, yeah, of course. I always have a Pepsi nearby. Well, here, let's turn around so you can see. It's Pepsi. I'm a soda pop junkie, so always have a Pepsi. Sometimes it's Coke or what, caramel-colored, cola-flavored beverage, but anyway. Where are we at here? Dixon's Rompin' Rock Dairy. Good evening. You're from Idaho. There we go. Good evening to you. Zach says, good evening. I'm a local guy to you. I'm over in Webb City. Thanks for all you do. You are local. Yeah, Webb City is my hometown, actually. I wasn't born there, but I was raised in Webb City. My mom went to Webb City high schools when she was a kid. Then they moved away when she got married to my dad, had 2 kids and moved back. So I lived in Webb City from the time I was 2 to about the time I was 21 or 22, somewhere right around in there. And then back and forth a couple of times I lived in Webb City. But I went to high school there, graduated from Webb City High School in 1992. And so yeah, I know the area well. Good to see you here. Thanks. If you ever see me around town, make sure you stop me and say hi. Glow says, oh, thanks for the info. Keep up the good work, Chris. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. All right. Excuse me. All right, Sage and Stone. Yes, I have a timer with 15 hours of light. I'll keep waiting for those eggs. Thank you. Yeah, probably any time now. Probably since you asked about it, you're going to go out there and find your first eggs tomorrow. That tends to be how things go for me. But yeah, 9 weeks old, that they should be laying by now, but you know, it's not unusual for them to go 10 or 12 weeks sometimes. Give them another week or 2 before you worry about it at all. All right, Heather says, my bunny had 9 babies and 8 of them lived for her first litter. That's pretty good, actually. 9's a pretty big litter, and when you have 9, 10 babies, it's not unusual to lose 1 or 2 of them. So that's pretty good, actually. Congratulations. All right, Capper Outdoors says, first time on, thanks, and hello from Southern Illinois. Oh, look at that. Somebody else that's local. CQ Querator, I think it is, says near Neosho here. Yeah, Neosho's just down the road from me. My grandparents lived in Neosho, and I have land out there that I spent a lot of time on as a kid. And my aunt and uncle now, my grandparents' daughter and her husband, they're my aunt and uncle. They now own that property, and I still do a lot of squirrel hunting there. It's just outside of Neosho. A couple of things. I like Neosho quite a bit. It's a nice place. Hatfield's Ham and Bacon. If you ever make it through Neosho, you got to stop by there. Fantastic place. They got the best smoked meats. It's just great. Love it. Shell Bell says, I have 57 quail right now. My grow out cage is full of extra males. They're getting aggressive. Any suggestions on keeping them sane until processing? They're 6 weeks old. Should I just process them ASAP? Well, it's up to you how you want to handle that. One thing you can do is reduce the amount of light that they get. So you may have to put a cover over it or whatever. Reduce them down to like 6-7 hours of light a day, and that will shut down their hormones a lot. That'll keep them a lot calmer. They won't be nearly as aggressive that way. You only got another couple of weeks before they're really, I'd just wait a couple of weeks if you can and see it. Hopefully they don't kill any other birds, and then go ahead and process them at that time. So Sage says, yay, I hope I get eggs tomorrow. Yeah, I hope you do too. J.M. Plester says, I just wondered if I can put 2 female rabbits together. It's probably not a great idea. I mean, you can house them together. There are plenty of people that do house rabbits together and talk about them bonding and those kinds of things, but rabbits really aren't herd animals. They really prefer solitude for the most part. Females especially can get very territorial. So the one thing you're going to have to worry about is if you put another female in the cage with a rabbit that's already in that cage, another female, chances are there's going to be some fighting that goes on there, and they can get pretty destructive. So, if you are going to do that, you want to move them to a neutral cage that's new to both of them, so that you don't have that problem. But I would think that, it's probably best to keep them separate. But go ahead and try if you want to. See how they do. Lots of people do keep them together, have no problems with them, especially if you've got a fairly good sized cage. All right. Wyatt says you should do a squirrel hunting video. I should. There'd be a lot more action in a squirrel hunting video because, well, squirrel hunting is one of my favorite kinds of hunting. It's just a little bit more action to it. With deer hunting, you go out. It's not like hunting, shows that you watch in reality, especially if you don't have like big food plots and, you haven't been managing the population and all the land and all that those guys have. A lot of times, like I went out, I've been out 6 times, I think, this year. Morning and evening hunts combined, where I sat for 4 or 5 hours at a time. Evenings usually it's about 3 hours. Mornings it's usually about 4 to 5 hours. And I saw, 4 deer, I think, the entire time. One time I was sitting, I saw 1 deer cross a field 300 yards away. I saw the 1 buck that I took a shot out one morning, and I didn't take a shot. I pulled the trigger and had a misfire. And then, it was a dead primer. It went click and never fired. And then I saw 2 does that came and walked around me, like within 20 yards of me, walked around me for a while I was sitting in a chair up against a tree. I wasn't even in a tree stand or anything like that. And they got real close to me, walked all the way around me and all. I got that on video, which is kind of neat, but I don't know. Where was I going with that? Anyway, back to the squirrel hunting. Yeah, I'll try to do a squirrel hunting video at some point. I should take my wife out squirrel hunting. I think she'd like it. But anyway, Darla says, I got the little giant you recommended and got my eggs about an hour ago. Reading directions, wondering in-house, looking for a place for the incubator. Any suggestions? Okay, well, I don't know what your house is set up like, so I can't tell you where to put it necessarily. But if you have a spare room or something like that, you can put it in. That's great. Try to not put it. Don't put it over the top of a heating vent or in an open window. Not an open window, but like no blinds on the window, open window. The sun coming through can really heat your incubator up and cause it to fluctuate in temperature and cause problems with your hatches. Same thing, you put it over you want to put it in a room that's fairly consistent with the temperature, doesn't have huge fluctuations up and down. Either from the sun going through the windows or right above a heating vent or something like that. If you can find a place like that, that would be best. James says, okay, thank you for clearing that up for me. I don't remember oh yeah, gotcha. All right, John says, I have 2 does in a 2x6. One is pregnant now, and they grew up together. Yeah, I've heard of people doing that, and they say that, rabbits will bond, and, they very well may. Hopefully you don't have any problems when the one gives birth. She doesn't become, like aggressive with the other one trying to protect her babies. All right, Heather says, when my bunnies were born, they were all black and white, but they turned brown and gray. I'm not sure why. Well, it probably genetics. I mean, it's just the kind of rabbits they are. Sometimes, a lot of the times you'll see baby animals, whatever kind, are born with a darker color and then it lightens up over time, or vice versa, a lighter color that darkens up over time. I couldn't tell you what exactly causes that either, but all right. Caesar says, how often do you change the sand in your pen? Not often, honestly. Maybe once or twice a year, and I don't change it. What I do is I just clean out the sand that's in there. I have a screen, little window screen. It's about that wide and about that long or something like that. It's made to, go in the window, like you open a window a little ways and put that screen in there. And I use that to just sift out their droppings. And, they'll kick sand out. So whenever the sand gets really low, I just add more sand to it. But that's usually about maybe twice a year that I have to add more sand to it. Wyatt says, me too, I absolutely love squirrel hunting. Yeah, squirrel hunting's fun. I mean, it's, we're back on the squirrel hunting topic, but that's okay. We got time to get to we got plenty of time left. Squirrel hunting is a lot of fun because, first of all, you go out and you sit for 4 or 5 hours, you don't even see a deer. With squirrel hunting, it's very rare. You go out and you sit for 30 minutes and the squirrel come out. And you can get more than one. So I think the daily limit's probably like 10 or something, maybe. I don't even know what the limit is. I don't ever get that many. I don't ever take that many. I don't need that many. But you can get 3 or 4, and So you get one squirrel, you're not done. You can hang out and get a couple more, but it is a lot of fun. I usually do. I still hunt squirrel most of the time. Sometimes I'll walk through the woods try to find them, but where I hunt is mostly fox squirrels, red squirrels. They're very good at hiding. There are two different types of squirrel that we have around here mostly. Fox squirrels, which are a red squirrel, and then gray squirrels. The gray squirrels tend to be a little bit smaller, a little bit thinner, and the gray squirrels have the habit of running when they get startled. So you're walking through the woods, they hear you coming before you ever see them, and then they take off through the trees and they're gone before you ever get to them. The red squirrels tend to hunker down on the tree and hide in the tree, which is nice. I mean, it's a little bit easier to hunt because if you know they're in the tree, well, you can usually find them if you just spend enough time looking for them. Or a trick that we do is my cousin and I usually hunt together. We'll send one guy to the other side of the tree, start kicking things around, make a lot of noise, and that squirrel will move around where the other guy's standing. You can see him, then you can see him. So that's a good trick that we use. But anyway, we'll get into that stuff if we ever do a squirrel hunting video. All right, Isabel says, do your quail's feet bleed or crack? No, I don't really have problems with that. I mean, every once in a while you get maybe a bird that has like an injury on their foot or something like that, but it's not very often. I very seldom have any problems with their feet. CQ says, could you give any suggestions for treating a bad case of ear mites? Yeah, food grade oil, olive oil, mineral oil, vegetable oil, anything that's food grade is going to work. And just take an eyedropper, put a couple of drops of oil in their ear, each ear. Do it once a day, every day until the scabs disappear. Don't go in there and try to clean the scabs out or any of that kind of stuff. Just put a couple of drops, and they're not going to like it. They're going to shake their head like crazy. You may have to hold them still while you put them in there. But just a couple of drops in each ear. Do that every day until the scabs are gone, and then do it every other day for another week or week and a half, just to make sure that you've got all the remnant, the leftover stuff. Get rid of, if you've got hay bedding in there or any of that kind of stuff, get rid of all that. Clean it all out and replace it with fresh bedding. You're gonna have to clean it all out again when you're done treating and replace that with fresh bedding, just so you don't have any mites sticking around. But that'll take care of it. It looks terrible, but it actually acts very, very fast, very quickly. And that should do it for you. If it, you can go with something like ivermectin. I always pronounce that wrong. Can't remember how it's pronounced exactly, but you can use that. That's a pesticide, and it will take care of them like that. But I don't see any reason to do that when just food grade oil, a couple of drops in their ears, takes care of them. It'll do the job for you. All right. Zach says, I was literally writing a message to ask if you got a deer when you started that. Yeah, I didn't have any luck this year. Not yet anyway. But again, rifle season's over. Rifle season's only 10 days. But there was bow season before that. I tried a little bit of hunting during bow season before that. And then I tried all rifle season. And then I haven't tried again since rifle season. But there's still bow season left. Quite a bit of it. So there's still a chance. All right. Outdoors of Eden says, I just sold 5 of my adult rabbits and just have the grow outs left. I'm going to have 100 plus Cornish cross turkeys and Muscovy ducks next year in total. Wow, that's a lot. So, good luck with all of that. I hope it goes well. All right, Darla says, thank you. You are welcome. What are we talking about? Oh, yeah, gotcha. Yeah, you are absolutely welcome. What the Quail says, hello from Pearland, Texas. I'm not sure where Pearland is, but anyway, have been watching your channel for a long time. First time catching your live feed. Great information. Well, thank you so much. And thanks for joining the live feed, too. I appreciate it. John, let's see. I plan to split the cage into halves after a bit. When I have time, then I'll separate them. What are we talking about again? Oh, 2 does and a 2x6. Okay, gotcha. That 2x6 is a pretty big cage, so you may not have any problems at all, but yeah, you may be best on going ahead and splitting it in half. Good evening to you, Sillamore. There you go. All right, John says, I've seen black squirrels too. Yeah, we do have a few black squirrels around here. My grandma's property has some, but not very many. They're pretty rare. I shot one when I was a kid, and I've still got the skin somewhere. We had it tanned. I don't know where it is, but I shot a black squirrel when I was a kid. They didn't really like me doing that because there's just not very many of them around, but there are a few. Let's see. Shell says, yes, do a squirrel hunting video. I'll see what I can do. Reed says, where I live, we have a small population of white squirrels, not albino, just white. Yeah, that's called leucistic, actually, where they're not albino because they don't have pink eyes. They have albino is lack of pigmentation in everything. So your skin, your eyes, everything. You'll have like pink or light blue eyes. These are just regular, they're leucistic, so they're white, but they have pigmentation in their eyes. Yeah, that's pretty common in, what is it, Marshfield, I think, Missouri? Not too far from here. They have white squirrels. They're known for that. It's like their thing. It's weird. I don't know why they're just there and not anywhere else. But anyway. Bob says, the incubator you want is the Hoverbator Genesis 1588. Thank you. It says, this one has a built-in fan. I use it and it works great. Yep, thank you very much. All right. Petway Family, the 1588 has the huge view window, almost as big as the lid. That's the one I have. The 1602 has the two separate windows that are smaller, like the Little Giant. Both are forced air. Yeah, you probably either one of them is going to work well for you. But yeah, that bigger window might be a little bit nice. You can see through it. But again, don't set it in a window where the sun's going to come through and hit it. That'll heat it up like crazy. All right, Randy. Uh-oh. I don't know if can you guys hear my dog? He's sure there's something out there. Maybe it's a fox. I better go let him go out so he can go chase it on. I'll be right back. There you go. He goes out there and just carries on a storm, you know, at night. And then he'll come back in a few minutes. And about 30 minutes or 20 minutes later, he'll walk back out. And anyway. All right. Hello from North Carolina. This is from Randy. Hello from North Carolina. I got some quail about a month ago, and I really enjoyed watching them. They are good therapy. They are kind of fun, aren't they? Yep. And yeah, John says, yep, they're rare. They're white squirrels. Is that what we're talking about? Or black squirrels. The black squirrels are rare. Yeah, they're pretty rare around here, too. I've only seen a few of them. All right, Silmore says, question, have you ever tried, is that Moline ear oil for mites? No, I don't even know what that is. So, sorry, I got distracted. I'm not sure what that is. So, no, I've never tried that. Ah, Marionville, Missouri. That's it. Thank you, CQ. You're right. Marionville is where it is. Marie says, do you have a doe season? Ours starts tomorrow in Tipton, Missouri. There is a antlerless season. I'm not sure if that applies to certain counties. I don't remember, honestly. I hunt McDonald County, Missouri, down by Seneca. If you know where Seneca, Missouri is, some of you guys that are local probably do. I don't know if there's a antlerless season or not, but again, it's still bow season. I have bow tags for any deer, so I don't really pay much attention to that. But I don't know. Maybe there is. Silmore says, hi, y'all hit the thumbs up for Chris. Well, thank you. Evans Family Homestead, howdy to you. Where are we at here? Darius says, what advice do you have on new quail owners? Wow, that's a wide open question. You guys come in here and be like, I'm new to quail. What advice do you have? There's so many things we could talk about there, but don't make it more complex than it needs to be. They're probably going to be fine. The biggest advice I have is the feed. Try to find a game bird starter or a turkey starter, 25% or higher protein, around 1.5% calcium. Feed them as much as they'll eat. Build yourself a no waste quail feeder, because they are incredibly messy eaters. And if you just put it in a dish, they're going to throw it all over the place. You're going to waste a lot of food. So a no waste quail feeder is pretty easy. Just get like a Tupperware style container. Cut a couple of holes in it, about yay big around, big enough for them to stick their head through. About as high up on the, well, you know, you got a container that tall, about as high up on the container as you can get it, so they can stick their head through and eat, and it has a lid on it, so they don't get in there and just kick it around and throw it all over the place. That'll save you a lot of money on feed. That's the best advice I have for you on that. If you have some specific questions, I'd be glad to, oh, I think I know. Okay, I'm sorry, I got distracted. I'll be glad to answer specific questions on it, but when you ask like a any advice for a new quail owner kind of question, it's just so many. I don't even know where to start on that. So hopefully I got you something that you can go with there. All right. Silmore says the fuzzy plant called Moline. Okay, I think I know what you're talking about. Isn't that also, is that lamb's ear? Is that the same thing, I think? But no, I haven't used that for ear mites. All right. Lindsay says, I find the chicks fun to watch when the lights turn on in the morning. They pop up all over the place like they're playing leapfrog. It's so cute. It is. And let a fly get in your brooder box sometime. They just, as a group, chase the fly from one end of the brooder box to the other, all over the place. It's a lot of fun to watch, too. All right. Zach says, do you have any other hobbies? Oh, man, do I have hobbies. I've got a ton of hobbies that, come back and go away for time. I mean, I'm a little bit ADD when it comes to hobbies. There's lots of little things I like to do. And then I might not do them for a long time. And then I get back into it and I start doing it again. So a couple of things. Macrame is one of those things, believe it or not. I like macrame, which is just decorative knot tying. So nowadays, you guys would call it survival bracelets and those kinds of things. It's kind of made a resurgence, but nobody calls it macrame. They're making, paracord survival bracelets and keychains and all that kind of stuff. But it's macrame is what it is. It's the same thing. So I do like to do those kinds of things. Every once in a while I get into that and I get all the stuff out and I make a couple of plant hangers or belts or rifle slings or any of those kinds of things. But let's see, what other hobbies do I have? I like to fish. Fishing's one of my favorites. Camping. I like to go camping. That usually involves fishing. What else? Oh, good grief. Let's see. There's macrame. There's I get into leather working every once in a while, which is pretty simple stuff, just some like belts or something like that. Usually about every couple of years when my belt wears out, I get all excited about leather making. I go buy a belt blank and I make another belt, and then it lasts me about 4 or 5 years, and then I kind of quit doing leather stuff for a while. Sometimes drawing, I get into drawing every once in a while. I'm not that great at it. Photography, I do like to do photography. I mean, there's a lot of little things that I like to do. And I get interested in new things all the time and kind of follow them for a little while and then, give up on them again. But all right, so let's get back to the other comments. Evans Family Homestead says they drink a lot of water. They do. Quail drink a lot of water. They do drink a lot of water. You're right. All right. Rough Patch Homestead says antlerless is this Friday to Sunday. Awesome. Where are we at here? Isabel says, do you have any tricks to clot bleeding quail feet? Boy, that's a good question. I haven't really had that problem, but I would think is it called septic? Or septic is probably not called septic. Septic pin. Like what you would use, like if you nick yourself shaving, you put on there and it clots up and it causes it to quit bleeding. Something like that would probably work pretty well. I think I would try to figure out why their feet are bleeding. So, I mean, there's got to be something wrong. It could be that you're using a cage material that is really, really rough, and that may be causing scratches or, cuts in their feet. You may have to look for another. Sometimes you'll get like hardware cloth and it's like really rough on one side, but the other side's a little bit smoother. So you may have to flip it over. That might work. Styptic. There you go. Thank you, John. I always get that wrong. I can't ever remember how to say that. A couple of words I have problems with like that. I think I know okay, anyway, so that's my best bet on that, or my best guess on that. If you're looking for like quick clot, fix, that's not a permanent fix, but it is going to cause it to clot and quit bleeding, like pretty quickly. So that would be something you could try on that. But again, figure out what it is that's causing it and try to fix that issue first. I think you mentioned earlier about if I had problems with quails' feet cracking and bleeding or anything like that. And I don't really. So, it's probably, if you're using a wire bottom, there's probably something on the wire that's causing that's rough, that's causing the scratches. You may be able to either flip it over or try to find some other wire. And you don't have to redo the whole cage, just the floor is all you're going to have to redo. So you don't need a ton of it. But I would see if I could find some different wire. You might look for, they do make a like PVC coated wire that's going to be a lot smoother. I think it's plastic coated or some vinyl coated, maybe. I don't know what it is, but that might work for you. Sillamore says, no, it's different than lamb's ear. It's been called the mullein, I think it is, has been called the toilet paper plant. I have heard of that. I'm somewhat familiar with that. May have to look into that some way. John says, I'm the same way with hobbies. Yeah, I get, those things happen to me. I get all excited about things and get interested in them, and then I lose interest and go on to something else. Hey, look at there. There's a $5 super chat from Night Runner. Says, did you hunt at all this season? My dad and brother both got bulls this year. Our freezers are full. Bulls, are you hunting like moose or something? Yes, I did. I did a lot of hunting this year and haven't got a deer yet. 5, 6, probably. I think it was 6 or 7 times I went out and only saw a couple of deer here or there. Nothing really worth shooting for the most part. All right. Shell says, Isabella, yarrow stops bleeding, but it just lets it scab. You can put slabs of something for them to stand on that isn't wired to give their feet a break. You can, for sure. Maybe, where are we at? What was I going to go with? Oh, like sandboxes and things like that will help a lot because you don't have the problem with like if you just put a slab of something in there, they're gonna poop all over it and it's gonna become really, really messy really, really quick. Whereas sandboxes, it kind of dries up and just kind of almost becomes part of the sand. Oh, thank you, Max. Okay, off. Good boy. All right. Anyway, Joe says, what's your main deer buster? My rifle that I deer hunt with is a 30-06. It's a Weatherby Vanguard 30-06. That's actually right here behind me. I can show you guys. Hang on. We'll pull it out. We'll show it off here real quick. Weatherby Vanguard rifle, 30-06. I haven't put it up yet. I need to. So there is my deer rifle. 30-06, loopholed scope on it. Oh, there's my homemade rifle sling. So that's macrame. Actually, it's woven. But that is my main rifle for deer hunting. And this is a pretty nice rifle. Let me put it back up here. Need to go put it in the cabinet. I'm done with it for the season. But where was I going with it? Pretty nice rifle. On a bench, I can hit like a 4-inch steel plate at 300 yards, like just shot after shot. It's almost boring. So pretty nice rifle. I also have a crossbow that I use, Sniper Elite. I can't remember. It's a pretty cheap crossbow, but I use that for bow season. I just got that like last year, so I have yet to shoot a deer with a bow. I'm not much of a bow shooter. I never got good with a compound bow, just never did it enough. But my wife bought me a crossbow for my birthday last year, and so now I get to bow hunt with a crossbow. And I don't know, I like it quite a bit. I just haven't yet shoot a deer with it. All right, CQ says the toilet paper plant says, LOL, we need that these days. You're right, we do. Maybe we could grow that and make a lot of money with it, huh? Daria says, my quail flew up and hit its head on the cage and then he died. Why did he die? Probably, hit his head on the cage. He broke his neck. He knocked his head too hard. There's a lot of different reasons it could happen. It's not common, but it does happen from time to time. Quail's natural defense, I guess it is, whenever they get startled, is to flush. They fly up in the air, and sometimes they can get enough force going. If they hit their head on something, it can really do some damage. It's not that common, but it does happen from time to time. All right, Dixon says thumbs up, folks. Thank you. Appreciate that. Shell says, or a sandbox. I keep sandboxes in my cage, and the sand will also clot the feet. Well, there you go. Good suggestion there. Hayden says, do people really buy quail meat and eggs? Are they sellable? And also, is butchering a quail difficult? No. Processing quail is pretty easy. You can do it a couple of different ways. What I usually do is just pop the breast out of them and then snip the legs off and keep the legs in the breast. It's really about all that you have as far as meat goes on it. Now, I'm sure there are people that will buy quail meat. There are people that will buy quail eggs. So yeah, you can sell them. There may be some regulations around selling meat for human consumption. You may have to be like inspected and have a certain facility set up, but you're gonna have to look into that and see what that is in your area. You can usually sell live animals, no problem. It's when you sell processed animals that you may run into some issues, and it may also depend on how much. I don't know the rules around that. You're gonna have to look into that a little bit. Eggs are no problem. You can sell eggs. You don't have to worry about any kind of regulations usually on that. All right. Shell says, I sell at a local farm, eggs, and soon to be meat. So yeah, there is a, sorry, I got distracted by another comment. There is a market for, eggs and things like that. I don't find it that profitable, so I don't really sell eggs very often. It's just a lot of work for not much money. That's just my opinion. All right. QC says septic is sewer. We don't want a septic bin. Yeah, I know that's not the right word. I can't ever figure it out and get it out right. All right, Rough Patch Homestead says, as someone who's used Quick Clot, just an FYI, it burns on contact. Well, that's a good thought then. Yeah, you don't want to put that on your birds if it's going to burn. Yeah, for sure. All right. Darius says, why my quail do not crow? I had 2 in 1 cage. There could be a lot of reason. Oh, Night Runner says they got a bull elk. That makes sense. I've had elk. It's good. All right, back to you, Darius. Sorry. Why don't your quail crow? You have 2 in 1 cage. First of all, are they roosters? Are you sure they're roosters? Second of all, they got to have light. Just like hens got to have light to lay eggs, the males have to have light in order to be crowing. 14 hours a day of light is what they're going to need for at least a couple of weeks to really get them to where they start crowing again. And as your birds get older, they calm down. Like my older roosters don't really crow all that often. The young ones, when they first come of age, boy, they crow like crazy. But the older ones, they don't really crow all that often. All right. Lindsay says, I've used PVC coated hardware cloth for quail floors, and we're slowly been getting rid of the bumblefoot. Some of our quails were getting from the wood shavings that they used to be in. Okay, well, that's a good point. Yeah, you can run into issues with like, what do you call it? Bumblefoot. And that can happen really on all kinds of different surfaces. But what bumblefoot usually is they get a cut or a wound on their foot or something like that, and something gets inside, like a splinter from wood chips or a grain of sand or something like that gets inside there and it causes an infection. It's the same kind of thing as like if you got a piece of like a splinter in your hand and you didn't get it out, it's going to fester and that's basically what bumblefoot is. So yeah, keeping them on wire can help alleviate that sometimes. Sometimes they can have problems with, if you have rough spots where they get their feet cut up or something like that, that can cause bumblefoot in itself. But if you're not having those kinds of problems with it, then there's not a lot of foreign debris to get stuck in their foot and cause infections if they do get a wound. So, yeah, good point on that. Joe says, good choice in a rifle. Yeah, it is a nice rifle. I'm pretty happy with it. I bought that a couple of years ago. I got a little bit of an inheritance and used some of it to buy a rifle and a scope, because a scope was about as much as a rifle was, honestly. But it was a splurge. I don't spend that much money on rifles very often, but at all, ever. So it's funny, you buy a nice expensive rifle like that and I pretty much shoot it like once a year. Every once in a while we'll take it out to the range and do some shooting with it because it is nice. It's incredibly accurate. Makes you feel really good when you've got a 4-inch steel plate out at 300 yards and you just every shot hit it every single time. It's a lot of fun. But all right, but 30-06 ammo gets expensive, so I actually hand load my ammo, but still. Daria says, how many quails can I keep in a medium dog cage? And Lindsay said that was a nice looking rifle. Thank you, Lindsay. I appreciate that. Darius says, how many quails can you keep in a medium dog cage? I don't know what size a medium gun cage is, or gun cage. Sorry, a medium dog cage is. I don't know exactly what size it is, but I wouldn't think you'd be able to keep very many in there. You really want to figure about 1 square foot per bird. At least one, well, depending on what kind of flooring you have. So if you have a solid floor, definitely 1 square foot per bird. If you're going with, if you're going with wire cages, where the droppings fall through, you can pack them a little bit more densely than that. So, figure out your square footage. That's about how many birds you're going to be able to keep in there. All right, White says, that's a sweet gun. I've been thinking about getting a crossbow. I'll tell you what, I've been pretty impressed with my crossbow. I can shoot out to 50 yards pretty much right on. I mean, it's pretty accurate. And it was cheap. It was like $200. Anyway, Bobby says, unfortunately, my first doe, first birth was a bust. No fur pulled, and she had it on the cage. We lost the kit and pulled the nesting box 5 days later. She had 3 more kits on the wire. Oh, no. I'm sorry to hear that, Bobby. Hey, hang in there, try again. Chances are she's going to do much, much better on the next litter. Sometimes first-time mothers just don't know what to do, and they do have some problems. How are we doing on time? About 6 minutes left. John says, yes, I love to buy quail to eat. Well, there you go. There is a market for it. Lindsay says, in my area of Canada, quail have no regulations except if you hatch more than 1,000 eggs, you need a hatchery permit. Quail count as domestic birds. We're just like a pet budgie or a parrot. Well, that makes sense. I don't think there's any regulation. I mean, if you're selling them, that's when you might run into regulations if you sell large amounts of them. I mean, it'd have to be a lot. But I don't think there's any regulations on how many you hatch or any of those kinds of things. I don't know. I'd have to look into that, honestly. John says, the old quick clot burned, not sure about the quick clot, there we go, burned, not sure about the new formulation. I'm not sure either. Gary says, crowing, my ruse started crowing immediately after hens started laying, and again, 3-week hiatus. Yeah, that happens sometimes, especially when they first start laying, usually not 3 weeks before they lay again. But what you will find, a lot of times what I usually find is the roosters usually start crowing before the hens start laying. If they're, the same batch of babies growing up, usually the roosters mature a little faster. They start crowing before the hens ever start laying. But when they first start laying, especially in the wintertime or the fall when the light and the days are a little bit short, even if you're providing additional light, they're still not going to be as consistent as they are with natural daylight, 14 hours or more a day of natural daylight. And when they first start laying, it's usually a little bit inconsistent. So they'll lay an egg and maybe go a day or two without laying an egg, usually not 3 weeks. That may be something, if you moved them around or something like that, that's going to stress them out. They're not going to lay for another couple of weeks. But anyway, hang in there. Hopefully they'll start laying again pretty quick. All right, Stranger Things Are Coming says, yeah, I got me a crossbow. I like it. I'm pretty happy with mine. Sillamore says, what causes Quail to start walking, then backing up while she's shaking her head? I saw one of my hens doing this the other day. Who knows? Probably some kind of, something irritating her inner ears or, something. I mean, shaking their head, walking backwards makes me think they probably got something in their ear. Feeling, trying to get away from something, who knows? I mean, there could be a number of different things. Unless it's happening all the time, I wouldn't worry about it. If it is happening all the time, maybe some kind of ear infection or something like that, or it could be some kind of neurological problem as well. But good question. That's not a behavior I've seen from my birds, at least not on a regular basis. MB, hey, good to see you. MB says, sorry I'm late. Hoping you're all having a good night. I missed a lot lately, but I'll be back starting next week from Big Mike and the family from Long Island. Well, thanks for joining either way. I appreciate it. All right, MB also says, I haven't had lights on the birds to give them a chance to stop laying. Do you know if this will prolong their life? I don't know, honestly. There's some thought that it might. Maybe it will. I don't typically keep my birds that long I usually process them after, 2 years or roughly. Don't have really any birds that I keep around longer than that and just replace them with new breeders at that point. But it might. I don't know. Darius says, I love quail. They're good layers and excellent meat birds, especially the jumbo Coterna. Yeah, they are. I agree. John says, I just wanted to thank you for all that you do here, Chris, and thanks to everyone here. You are welcome, John. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for watching the videos. I appreciate that. Oh, we got about 3 minutes left. See what I can get through in 3 minutes. Casper says, one of my birds became paralyzed and could eat and drink only. She died after a few weeks. I have raised her since she was only a chick. Was wondering what had happened. Yeah, there could be, who knows? That could be anything from, like some kind of injury, a head injury, to a vitamin deficiency of some kind, to a parasite, to, there could be tons of different things. I don't know that I can answer that one for you. I'm sorry that happened. I'm sorry you had to deal with that, though. All right. Alien says, what should I do if my quail toe is broken and the bone's hanging out? He's limping. Oh, that's... if there's a bone exposed, my advice would be to call him, put him out of his misery. If you really want him to survive, I don't know that there's a lot you can do. There's a chance he'll go ahead and heal, but that seems incredibly painful. It seems incredibly like he's going to be suffering quite a bit. You could try to get a vet involved, but that's going to be really, really expensive. If this is a meat bird anyway, just go ahead and make him a meat bird and be done with it. I don't think there's any sense in making him suffer through that. I wish I had a better answer for you, but I don't have a way to fix that one. I'm sorry. All right, Casper says, after a while, she started to move a bit, but she never recovered. Yep. Yeah, I'm sorry. I wish I knew what that was. Let's see. Gary says, sorry, should have mentioned these are all mature birds. When hens took a break, so did the roos. All are full grown now. Well, no, that makes sense. And a lot of times what you'll find too, especially if like fall comes on and they stop laying and then you add light to get them laying again, it takes a little while to get them going again. And sometimes they'll lay an egg or two. Sorry, got confused there, got distracted. Usually you're going to see doe rabbits can make it for usually 4 years roughly. I just replace them whenever they start slowing down on their production or have failed litters on a consistent basis or something like that. And that's usually, you can get about 4 years, maybe 5 years out of them. Bucks probably about 6, maybe 7 at the most. But that's about the time frame on both of them. All right, MB says you should release the live feed in audio form as a podcast. I listen to a ton of them, and there are none about quail. I thought about doing something like that. Who knows? Maybe I will at some point. All right, we got to wrap this one up, guys. So one or two more comments real quick, and then I got to get out of here. So, hey, Chris, this is from Bruce. Hey, Chris, I probably watched all your videos twice. Hard to make the live shows. Well, that's okay. I appreciate you making this one. I just wanted to say thanks for all the information. You have helped me get started raising quail. Well, thank you for watching. I'm glad that you're finding the videos helpful. And Aline, I think it is, thank you. It happened about an hour ago. I'll check him in the morning. What happened? I forgot. Oh, quail toe broken. Yeah, good luck with that. I hope it works out. All right, looks like everybody's just saying good night. God bless. And God bless each and one of you guys, too. I got to close this one out, go make some dinner for the family, and then go to bed and get up and do it all again one more time this week. So, again, thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for being here with me. God bless each and every one of you, and hopefully we will see you guys again next week. So take care.